Hey friend, welcome. Let's start here. Some treasures aren't lost. They're just buried, not forgotten. Just hidden for a reason, and maybe that's why you felt like your spirit's been tucked away. Protected. Almost like life dimmed your light on purpose. But hear me, this wasn't punishment. It wasn't even a delay, it was preservation, because what God placed inside you. That was never ordinary, and anything that carries that kind of weight can't be rushed into the spotlight. It needs time. It needs silence. It needs depth, before the unveiling. There's always a retreat, and that part. The part no one talks about. That's where the real work happens, those quiet seasons, the ones that felt lonely. Invisible, even a little cruel sometimes, they weren't wasted. They were sacred. Every whispered prayer you cried out to God in the dark, He heard them. Every single one. Heaven doesn't forget the ones it trains in private. You know that ache you felt, the ache of being unseen, unheard, unknown. That wasn't abandonment, that was the sound of something holy still being shaped. Think about how diamonds are made, not in sunlight. Not out in the open, they're formed under pressure. In darkness. In silence, where only heat, time, and God's hand can reach, and when they finally rise to the surface, they don't apologize for how long it took, they just shine. That's the energy you're stepping into now. You're not showing up to prove anything, you're stepping forward because something inside you has finally come into alignment. You're not chasing validation anymore, you're not begging to be seen. This time, it's different, because now, you're not walking in as someone who needs recognition, you're walking in as someone who knows who they are. Even if no one claps for you yet, and that kind of presence, it changes things, it shifts the atmosphere. You don't need to yell to be heard anymore, you just exist, and people feel it. Because God didn't hide you to keep you small, He hid you like an artist covers a masterpiece still in progress, like a gardener shields a fragile bloom until the season is right, like an architect digs deep before letting the building rise. What happened in your silence, it mattered. Even if no one could name it, even if people misunderstood your quiet, even if it felt like the world was passing you by, you weren't being overlooked. You were being overbuilt for something your past self couldn't have carried, and now. Now, the veil is thinning, you can feel it, can't you, that strange sense of clarity. That realization that the fog is lifting, that the doors which used to feel locked are swinging open before you even knock. This is not random. This is timing. You're not being launched with noise or hype, you're being revealed with precision, with quiet power, because silence isn't the absence of motion, it's the sound of depth being formed. And let's be real, not everyone was meant to witness your building season, not everyone had the language to understand what God was doing in you. That's why the isolation was divine, so no one could mislabel your process. So no one else could take credit for a story they didn't write, because this version of you, it wasn't built on applause, it was built on obedience, on showing up when no one was watching, on holding on when everything told you to let go. On loving God when His voice felt quiet. That kind of formation, it doesn't need a spotlight, it comes with subtle shifts, like walking past the same old places and realizing, you don't need their approval anymore, you don't even need their answers, because something in your spirit has changed, you're no longer addicted to noise, that you're choosing peace, over and over again. Even when that peace costs you people. Even when it costs you being misunderstood, because now you know. Being hidden by God is safer than being seen by the wrong ones. And now that it's your time to be revealed, you're not stepping out desperate to be recognized, you're stepping forward steady. Rooted, already crowned from the inside out, and that's what makes this moment different. It's not about being discovered, it's about being deployed. You know now, when something precious is being formed, it stays hidden, and you know that truth deep in your bones. But let's not sugarcoat it, that hidden season. It wasn't glamorous, it didn't feel holy all the time, it felt like sitting in a room full of open doors that somehow wouldn't open for you, and the silence, it wasn't soft, it was sharp. There were nights where your chest felt heavy for no reason. Days where your spirit was tired, even after sleep, and the question wasn't, am I chosen? It was, why does being chosen feel so hard? Here's the part no one tells you, sometimes, the spiritual weight didn't feel sacred, it felt like being forgotten. You watched others move ahead, get noticed, get celebrated, even when they carried far less than what you've been holding in silence for years, but you kept showing up, not because it made sense, but because something inside you wouldn't let you quit. That was the formation, not the highlight reel, the behind-the-scenes version of your story where your soul stopped craving validation, where your spirit learned how to hold tension without breaking, where your identity stopped being tied to being seen, and started being anchored in just being real. And now you're starting to feel the shift, not just in your mind, but in your life. Conversations are getting deeper, without you even trying. People speak to you differently, there's more weight in their words. You walk into a room and something shifts, the energy rearranges before you even say a word. That's not your imagination. That's alignment breaking through the surface. You're not trying to be magnetic, you're just honest now, and that kind of honesty, it carries its own frequency. That you're not trying to force favor anymore, you're simply recognizing it. And here's the truth, maybe the truth you didn't want to admit until now, it wasn't just that God was hiding you, it was that He was protecting the story, your story. He was waiting until it was strong enough to walk without needing an explanation, until it could stand on its own. And that story, that's you, the healed version who still remembers the pain but doesn't live in it. You, the calm that doesn't feel fake anymore, because it was fought for. You, the grace that shows up in silence, just by being steady in a room full of scattered energy. And now, it's starting to show. The people who once looked past you, they're noticing the weight of your presence now, not because you're trying to be mysterious, but because you finally don't need to be understood to feel valid. That right there, that's the real glow up, not the visibility, but the detachment from needing it. You used to wonder, when will someone see what I carry? But now you know, the right ones already do, and the rest, they'll feel it soon enough, because when God makes something undeniable, it doesn't need to beg for attention, it becomes attention, not loud, not flashy, just felt, deeply, by anyone who comes near it. That's what your life is doing now, becoming a presence. Not something that can be summed up in a caption, not something that needs a catchy quote or a highlight reel, it's just real, it's who you are now. And yeah, some people might be confused, they'll look at you and wonder, when did they change? What happened? How did they get here? But you'll know, you didn't just show up one day and arrive, you were refined, and that refinement, it makes all the difference. Because of it, you're not afraid of success anymore, you're not shrinking, second-guessing, walking on eggshells, wondering when the blessing will vanish. You know what it cost you. You know what it healed, and more than anything, you know who brought you through it. So no, this isn't your peak, this isn't your big break. This is something deeper, this is the first clear echo of everything that's been growing in the dark for years. And it's not just growing now, it's rising without apology, without explanation, without rush, just God, proving that every silent season wasn't wasted, that every hidden moment wasn't failure, it was formation, that your story, it was never late, only protected, and now, finally, it's revealed. So here's what I want you to remember in this moment, you're not late, you're right on time, you didn't miss your call. You were being matured for it. Every moment you spent wondering why it hadn't happened yet, God was answering that question with silence, because the answer was still becoming. And now it's here. Not just on the outside, but on the inside of you. You feel it in your bones. You feel it in the way you breathe. You feel it in the way you speak. More calm, more sure, more whole. This is what happens when purpose starts to settle in your spirit. This is what it looks like when identity is no longer up for debate. And you know what's wild? You're not even trying to be confident. You're just not afraid of being real anymore. You're not performing. You're present. And that's powerful. Because this world is full of noise, full of highlight reels and edited realities, but realness, that's rare. So when you walk in with quiet confidence, when you've got nothing to prove and everything to offer, people feel that, even if they don't understand it right away, because real energy, it lands, and the people who are aligned with where you're going, they'll recognize it, they'll honor it, they won't try to shrink it or mold it or mute it, they'll meet you there, but the ones who don't, you've already learned, you're okay without them. You've stopped tying your value to how many people clap. You've stopped waiting for permission to feel proud of how far you've come, because you know, you're not who you used to be, You've been in the fire, you've been in the silence, you've been in the stretch, and now, you're carrying wisdom, not the kind you learned in books, the kind you earned in the trenches, in the tears, in the quiet yes you whispered when no one was watching. So don't downplay it, don't dilute it, don't second-guess it. This is the fruit of what was planted in faith. This is what it looks like when obedience turns into overflow. And now, you're walking into rooms that used to intimidate you, and realizing you don't even need them to validate you anymore. You're no longer looking for a seat at tables that don't respect your presence. You are the table. What's inside you is enough, what you carry is divine, and the way you move forward from here, it's not in competition, it's in calling. This is the season where you stop shrinking, where you stop apologizing, where you stop asking for confirmation from people who never had the capacity to see your full worth, because the truth is, if they couldn't recognize you in your hidden season, they don't get to define you in your revealed one. God already did that, and His word is final.